Greetings everyone, here we are with another delightful video. This time I'm going to slip in, maybe going to try to do one of these every week and one of those books a week, okay? But anyways, this is the beginner game box for Star Wars Edge of the Empire. It's a tabletop role-playing game from it was originally developed by Fantasy Flight, but was later sold off to Edge Studios. So this is going to be a standard fare for Fantasy Flight games. Typically in most Fantasy Flight games there will be custom dice with special symbols. That's typically a frowny face from me and for most people, as most TTR. The biggest problem with having custom dice is that it results in people having to learn a whole bunch of extra set of rules and then mentally translate like the 6 into a star symbol or a 1 into a skull or something like that. Typically the case with such a thing. By the way, at the 1,000 level, I will do the unboxing for Warhammer 3rd Edition Fantasy Roleplay core set. That is a big chonker. It's mint in package, so there you go. So I cut it open. This is not the typical style of a starter box where you basically lift the lid off. It is one of these little situations where they have a flat edge here. These type of starter boxes don't typically last as long as most other starter boxes, but I should read the blurb on the back here for the game. Gather your friends and get ready for adventure in the Star Wars galaxy. Whether you are brand new to role-playing or just new to the Edge of the Empire, the beginner game is perfect starting point for players of all skill levels. Open the box, already did that, and begin playing immediately. The Star Wars Edge of the Empire beginner game features a complete learn-as-you-go adventure. Players can jump right in and play as they learn the rules. Pre-generated character folios keep rules right at your fingertips. Custom dice and exciting narrative gameplay system make every role a story. Detailed rules provide for hours of entertainment as your character, your own adventures, and tell your own stories. This is a complete standalone game for 3 to 5 players. I'm going to read what comes in the box. Game contents: 1 adventure book, 1 rule book, 1 introduction sheet, 1 map, 4 character folios, 14 custom dice, 8 destiny tokens, 35 character tokens, and 5 vehicle tokens. Now, if you're paying attention, I'm going to back up in a moment and get to the back end of the original blurb. It says, this is a complete standalone game for 3 to 5 players. And as it says in the game contents, it has 4 character folios. 4 is neither 3 or 5. I'm quite easy to say that you can easily fit in 3 or 4 into the number of character folios. However, it says 3 to 5 players, only 4 character folios. Now let's see if they've failed to mention a blank sheet and character customization or construction rules in this box, because that would fix that extra suggested player that is not getting a character folio in the box. Now, keep in mind that a character sheet or a pre-made character sheet is actually fairly cheap to do. So not having, say, like 6 character folios in the box is a letdown. First things first, I'm going to pull out the custom dice. This is the letdown point for so many people. You notice that all these dice have different colors and they have different symbols on them because each color of die is related to a function in the system. So in order to play the system, you either have to hand everyone these dice around in a circle, so character can roll their green dice and roll their red die and so forth for all their actions and attacks, because each type of die is related to a different thing. I do not know what that thing is because I just opened the box, so this is a fresh unboxing situation. But anyways, this kind of thing puts a major barrier in the way of a lot of players. I have multiple groups that I play in and run games for, and just simply saying the game has custom dice immediately kills off all interest in the game. Right off the bat. A lot of people, once you say it has special symbols indicate that there is anything abnormal about the dice, it's not the standard 7 dice for Dungeons and Dragons, or less than that, but containing some of the dice of that set of 7, with the standard numbers on them, either pips or numbers, either or. But once you indicate that it's symbols or an extra other die, people start shooting it down really fast. Now, people are going to say, in the case of some other TTRPGs, say like the Star Trek Adventures game, first edition, that there are rules that convert from number to the symbol to number. That actually just makes things worse because a lot of players will they want to they write all the rules considering the special dice, but there are conversions for regular dice. So I have to now learn the rules, read through the system, and then I have to go and page over to the conversion table to find out how to convert to regular number dice, because I don't want to buy the damn custom dice. So far, this looks like that's not that situation. It's really hard to imagine unless they really wanted to have a whole bunch of stuff. But it appears that each color is a different function, and each die is a different type of die, with an exception of a few of them being D8s. Oops. So you have a D8 and then got another D8 with a different set of dice, different set of symbols on it. So, okay. So, we got the dice. We got a package of dice. We have this thing, which is not included with the contents list, for some strange reason. I presume it's because it was used as a means of seeing into the future with this product. As this is actually a series of products that the same guy that worked for Fantasy Flight worked on. Just empties inside of the box. I pulled everything out. We have a sheet for characters and enemies. But we also have read this first sheet, flipping around the other way, which gives you a quick overview of the system and does the standard Star Wars scrolling text thing. We have the adventure book, which weirdly enough should not be the first book in the pile you pull out. It should actually be one of the last books. And then we also have the character folios, which I'm going to go ahead and count. 1 character folio, 2 character folio, 3 character folio, 4 character folio, and then we have this fun little another one of these sheets that advertise. Believe it or not, that there is this series of TTRPGs that were developed by Fantasy Flight / Edge Studios. Edge of the Empire is the oldest one. The second oldest is Age of Rebellion, which was released a year after Edge of the Empire. And then about a little over a year, I think roughly, was Force and Destiny. Now there's actually a fourth one called The Force Awakens, but there's literally only a beginner game for that one. And it was basically dead right off the bat from the beginner game. So there you go. This is the rulebook. The rulebook seems to be a fairly decent thickness. It is, let's see if I can find a page number. 48 pages for the rulebook. We happen to have the handy dandy map. And then this is, as I said before, this is the character folio or tokens piece, going backwards through it. We have a Millennium type ship, a Millennium type Falcon ship, or a Corellian cruiser. So that's nice. Very iconic ship type for your adventures. So I do say that this is actually a pretty good start point, because so many people would want to fly a Millennium Falcon or a Millennium Falcon clone. By the way, I do believe it's called the Crate Fang. On the backside, there happens to be the starport and starport control, as well as the area in which the adventure is going to take place in. It's nice. By the way, this actually does feel like it's slightly textured, so stuff is not going to super slide all over it. It's not really plasticky, but yet it's also very mildly textured. So if someone still does throw a token, it's still going to slide. It's just not going to slide that far. This is the core rulebook to the beginner game. There is actually a core rulebook, proper TTRPG core rulebook. And it says here, stop, open the adventure book first. Huh. Interesting. It explains the dice, force dice, and so forth. So far from what I can see is that it's fairly well spaced out. However, I will do denote that the text tends to be on the small side and very fine. So some people who might have seeing or vision problems might have a slight difficulty reading it, as you can see that the text is very fine. It does have a nice range of artwork spread throughout the book, as I can see so far. You got some Destiny tokens there. And various explanations on actions and so forth. It doesn't go very many pages without a piece of artwork being interposed between sections. You occasionally got a page there with no artwork at all. Overall, I do like the presentation. It's just, my problem is the color background is off-white, and it's a very fine text. So that is one thing I would change in this. I would say, hey, make the text more bold. That might complicate things, as it would result in you needing to have a few more pages, because it's going to take a few more pages. Now, on to the character folio. According to the box, all the essential rules for playing these characters should be in this folio. Being a folio, it should be multiple pages. So there you go. You got the artwork for the character on the front, and then you got the background story for the character on the back, which is actually very nice. You have the essential character sheet in the center. I like that very much. That reminds me of the Warhammer tabletop role-playing games setups, as well as a few other TTRPGs. It has some nice explanations about the various functions. You even have the dice down here. Like, the green die is actually apparently a ability die. The yellow die is a proficiency die. The purple one is a difficulty die. The red one is a challenge die. The light blue die is a boost die. The black one is a setback die, and the white one is a force die. Now we have a difficulty, challenge, and setback. 3 negatives and 4 positive dies, I guess. However, I do like the arrangement on the character sheet. Is actually quite nice. Still fairly easy to read. You go to a second section and it has more information. It has information on advancement for the character. That's neat. And how much experience points you need for each thing. That's cool. As well as a reminder on the various dice. Page over to here. And I presume that this is just a regular sheet right here for you to update and rewrite it as need be. With a hired gun and talent tree. Which is basically, I do believe, what the class is, the character is. Now let's look at 41 Vex's story, which is a android. Yet again, story on the backside. I do believe his class is colonist. Yet again, the same kind of overall setup again, with its own little symbols. I do believe the way I can understand this is that each one of these symbols is a different dice pool for each skill. This is complicated by the fact that you only really have 3 green dice here, but you have a skill that requires 4 green dice. So, you're going to have to go and invest in more of these dice. Unless you want to re-roll a die just to get that result. But anyways, you got the advancement on the character and the regular sheet as well as the little information on that. I'm going to move past that one. You got a Twi'lek, bounty hunter, smuggler, colonist, and a hired gun. So you got like one class of each. I don't know if there's any more classes. You got a gal, you got a human dude, you got a android, and you got a Wookiee. I would have to read them to confirm whether the Wookiee is a girl or the android is a girl. But anyways, yeah. This is the adventure book, and supposedly this is the second thing you should read. After you read this, so you read this, you got that little sign right here that says read this first. And then you have on the adventure book, read this second, which I find kind of weird. I think it's the game master supposed to read it for that book for the sheet first, this second, and then the rules third. I do not know why you want to be reading the rules third, but okay. It has a little overview of all the basic items that would be coming in the box. The adventure map. Various items and run over various enemies and characters with some stat blocks for the enemies. Mini callback to reminder that each one of those symbols is a type of die in which you roll with those. I understand what a dice pool game is, so I can basically infer, when you use your piece of equipment, you're engaged. Okay, your cudgel, skill, melee. You use 2 green dice and a yellow die. Range engaged. Damage 5, and then it inflicts critical injury. But anyways, some important text, some characters you interact with, and maybe a few more enemies, security droids, and some other stuff. And then there's the conclusions to the adventure. Everyone gets away here, supposedly. And then some tips on the very back end for Game Masters. That's always appreciated, particularly in a beginner box or a beginner game or a starter set or whatever you want to call it, essentials kit. That is a must-have because we should automatically assume whoever's getting a thing called a beginner game or a beginner box or a starter set is a brand new person to the system. And ideally, you want to give the Game Master as much help as possible so they can run it as fluidly as possible. So your players have the love of that game. And hopefully, being that they love that game, they will want to play more of it. And then you end up having to buy more products from Edge Studios to cover that game. These are the tokens backing all the way up here. You got some spaceships, which is nice to have some spaceships in there. You have some large enemies, like a Rancor and a Jabba, a Hutt. You got your standard characters, your tokens for your destiny. You got some various enemies here that you can go up against. That's useful. It's a single sheet. It's fairly thick. I do like that very much. Overall, what I do say that this is actually a pretty good set overall. I do love the fact that it comes with nice tokens. I do like tokens, particularly if it's a new system that I've never ran before. It's a nice place. It comes with a map, so it helps with illustrating images. I personally do a lot of theater of the mind kind of situation. However, oftentimes, if it's a new game, it's often useful to have a map for at least some of the areas that are most important. You have the core rules here, which covers over a lot of the concepts for the system. Yet again, they are very smart if you're going to do custom dice, which is not very smart. It's actually pretty dumb. At least make a point of having the custom dice key all over the place of your product. That way, a player just gets frustrated trying to remember what a die does. They can just simply glance at one of their sheets and there's the key right there. Which is why I like the fact that they were smart enough to put the dice key in the character folios on basically every page each at some spot. Like right down here. Every other page. I do like the nice variety of characters. I do appreciate that greatly. And you have a nice little adventure book. It seems like it's a decent length. Overall, normally I would hate on this extensively for having custom dice, which I kind of already did. But considering the fact that they make a point of putting a dice key for each type of die in the character folio on multiple pages and putting it in the core rules and putting it in the adventure module and put it in extra sheets here and there. That is actually quite nice. You need as many reminders as possible. Now, the only annoying thing is that considering that this is still a lot of dice here, even for compared to what other system comes with a set of dice, this is still not all the dice you need to. I smashed it out to a flat layer so you can see literally every single die in here. Every single die that comes with the set, you do not have enough dice of any one color to roll all your rolls with that type of dice. Depending on the dice pool in which your character has for that skill or weapon or so forth. So you're either going to be re-rolling some of the dice to complete the overall ability or effect, or you're going to end up having to go out and buy more dice. Now, the nice thing about this is that there's actually 3 of these starter beginner boxes, 1 for each system, and each one uses the same dice. Also, another nice thing is that hopefully it still is good, but if you see it here in the corner, there is a dice rolling app Star Wars Dice app that you can use. It's on the Apple Store and the Android Store. That you can use instead of buying these dice. Which still is not that awesome, but still is also a good thing, because even if you don't want to spend the money on these dice, you can always go on your phone and you can always get on your phone and use that dice app to play this game. Now, the problem is some dungeon masters or game masters have a strong no phones at the table rule because they have some ADHD people. I honestly understand that. I know a few really ADHD people in my groups that you basically cannot let them touch their phone. Otherwise, they're surfing Facebook or they're watching YouTube or on TikTok. It's just too powerful of an urge for them to start roaming the internet while we're playing. So we have to make a point of like, put down your phone, and then they're perfectly fine. But if they have to like pick up their phone to look at a character sheet or something like that, they see a notification and they are off looking at something else. So overall, I do feel that this is actually not a bad set. As I said before, I do not like custom dice, but considering that they put some effort into having keys for the custom dice in numerous places, and that there's also a dice rolling app for this game and the other games like Age of Rebellion, and Force and Destiny, as well as the Force Awakens, which is just its own little just standalone beginner game with no core rulebook or anything like that. You can go ahead and go down that route, and you don't have to worry about needing to buy a whole bunch of these dice because you just can use the app. The problem is at some point in the future, that app will be going in eventually, maybe 5 years, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20. That app might not be compatible with your iPhones or your Android phone, in which case then you're going to need to buy the dice, and which sadly at that point you might be spending 3 or 4 times the price just to buy the special dice. But if you happen to buy the beginner box for Force Edge of the Empire, as well as the beginner box for Age of Rebellion and the beginner box for Force and Destiny, you would have more than enough dice to roll all the stuff you need to, and maybe split it up and divide it up so you can have enough dice between 2 or 3 people to roll all your stuff. And then maybe like buy an extra dice pack here and there. But still, that's that. Overall, I do feel that there is by the way, there is an actual, as I said before, there's a proper core rulebook, game master kit, adventure books, supplementary splat books for extra character options and stuff like that, or equipment for Edge of the Empire, Age of Rebellion, and Force and Destiny, that you can really dig down and play a lot of Star Wars. As I said before repeatedly, there's also a fourth one called The Force Awakens, which is literally just a beginner box, no core rule books, no supplementary stuff. It's just that. It's just a dangling fourth one. I could think of this like as 1.1 edition, and then the Age of Rebellion is 1.2, and Force and Destiny is 1.3, and Force Awakens is 1.4. So overall, I do feel that this is actually a pretty good setup here. My only thing, as I said before, text in books is way too small and fine. You have custom dice that are are going to get expensive at some point in the future, and the dice rolling app might no longer be serviceable at some point in the future. I do not know when. Might be tomorrow. It might be 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. And then there's also no Game Master screen in this. I personally find that a Game Master screen is, even if it's just a simple, thin cardboard sheet stock, or cardboard stock of hard, sort of a hard box cardboard, not the proper nice ones like Dungeons and Dragons or Call of Cthulhu or anything like that, but just a simple one like from the Essentials kit for Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. Those are really nice for new game masters, because you can put a lot of the core rules inside of that, and that aids the game master in running the game. Sadly, that is not included in this. It doesn't appear to be included in Age of Rebellion or Force and Destiny. There just happens to be none of those, no game master screen in those. It would be really nice if there was. So, there you go. Overall, I feel that this is probably like a 3.75 star game. In order to know for sure that it's better or worse, I would have to run it or play it with someone else. It's already enough work to get people to get into Call of Cthulhu and Pathfinder 2nd Edition. This is going to be quite a bit more, but considering that it's Star Wars, there might be a chance that I might get someone to consider playing this. Okay. Although there's a possibility my group might get into Starfinder at some point in the future, so there's that. Yeah, it's a 3.75 territory game box. A few things would have easily made it a 4 or 4.25 if it had a Game Master screen, better text, and it didn't have custom dice. But, of course, that's all here and there. It is nice that there is a dice rolling app. I should double check to see if the dice rolling app still exists and still works. In which case, I'll put it in the I'll leave a little thing in the comments of this video and the future ones stating if the Dice Roll app is perfectly fine and good. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's a little bit longer than some of the other videos. I personally have been trying to make these videos a little shorter, more concise, and get right to the point on it. So have a delightful day, a nice night, a wonderful week, and a magnificent month, and see you next time. Ciao.